census. Here with me now is Congressman Krishnamorthi, Democrat of Illinois and a member of the House Oversight Committee, and as a guy trained as a lawyer, understands these things far better than I do. Congressman, good to see you again.
Hey, Ali, how are you?
Good, thank you. What is the easy, simple distinction between what we saw today, the vote in Congress to proceed with civil contempt issues, and tomorrow's vote on the citizenship question, which also involves Bill Barr, but also the Commerce Secretary, that is a contempt of Congress? What's the distinction that my viewers should understand about that?
Well, actually, today's resolution, which passed, allows the House Counsel to begin judicial proceedings to enforce a subpoena with regard to Mr. Barr and Judiciary Committee proceedings. But the second part of that resolution also enables committees to similarly commence judicial actions or litigation, essentially civil litigation, to enforce subpoenas issued by those committees. So in other words, tomorrow, I believe, will be the first time that second part of today's resolution will actually be implemented tomorrow in the context of the Oversight Committee and the citizenship question.
Now, this is interesting because for people who think that you're only occupied with matters having to do with Trump and Russia and the interference, the citizenship question is an entirely different issue.
Correct.
On which the administration had the same response, right? So they've had a sort of a general answer to all subpoenas having to do with the Mueller investigation, but this is a different topic entirely, and they've had a similar response. You don't get the information you want.
No, it's exactly the same response. In fact, as Chairman Cummings has rightfully pointed out, we've had 8 subpoenas issued, 6 of which are bipartisan, none of which have to do with Russia, that have not been complied with in the least by the administration. Everything from, security clearance issues to rushing sensitive nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia, to taxpayer-funded jet travel for private purposes. We haven't received a shred of evidence or documents from the administration, which all begs the question, why? What are they trying to cover up? And so tomorrow is an essential vote, this time with regard to a very grave matter, adding the citizenship question to the census, I believe for the purpose of depressing the count of minorities and advantaging Republicans, and as they said in a memo that was recently unearthed, non-Hispanic whites. And so this is very important, and tomorrow we have to enforce a subpoena with regard to that issue.
And what does that look like? What is the enforcement of that subpoena? Because we don't often get to this stage. What happens next?
Yeah, at that point, basically the Oversight Committee will then be able to call upon the assistance of the House Counsel to go to court and then seek 2 remedies. One, a declaration that the subpoena with regard to the citizenship question is valid and enforceable. And then secondly, to ask for an injunction to require the parties to whom the subpoenas were served, in this case, Mr. Ross and Mr. Barr, to actually comply with the subpoenas.
And that means that gets, I guess my question is, who enforces that? That becomes a lawsuit?
The court. Yeah, exactly. The court, at that point, the court can enforce it through fines and other remedies. All
right, Congressman Krishnamorthi, we will watch this with great interest. We are all getting something of a legal education these days in understanding. I mean, I'm a simple guy. If Congress had subpoenaed me, I would have just showed up thinking that's what you actually have to do when Congress subpoenas you. I didn't actually realize there were so many different ways you can go about this. But you expect this will be passed tomorrow afternoon. This will happen tomorrow afternoon.
Ali, this is about whether or not there are going to be checks and balances in this country and whether or not the executive branch is going to be accountable to anyone. I think the answer has to be yes.
Congressman